Armed Dragon, an art type that had a real brief stint of meta relevancy a couple of years back, but that was with a skill based around Dad. We're now locked out of Dad and forced to play Wins, but we did get a couple of brand new Win supporting cards. So the question is this brand new Win support enough to drag this deck out of the graveyard, or is it going to fall flat on its face and feel like a steaming hot pile of garbage like most people watching this seem to predict it to be? Well, I think the answer to that question might surprise you a little bit. So here's today's deck list. Now just a reminder before getting to the deck list, if you guys are enjoying today's video and want to see some more content just like this in the future, and more deck lists of me in the future, please remember to leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel down below. Alright, let's jump into this list. So first things first, Armed Dragon got a brand new skill called Armed Dragon Vortex. This skill is pretty straightforward. It allows you to reveal a level 7 Wind Dragon monster in hand, add 2 Armed Dragon monsters from your deck to your hand, then play an Armed Dragon from your hand in face down defense position that you can flip face up. So pretty simple, straightforward deck building because you just play whatever the skill requires. The skill wants you to have level 7s to trigger at the start of your turn, so you just play as many amounts of level 7 wins as you can. The skill wants you to summon a dude to the field straight away, so you play 1 for going first, 1 for going second. You've seen this in Hero, there's basically the same sort of idea. Use this going second to nuke your opponent's field, use this going first just to have another quick effect pop on your opponent's turn. And then from there, the rest of the deck is just sort of whatever engine pieces you want and whatever tech cards you want. I do recommend not playing too many tech cards in this deck though, because this art type requires so many discards. It feels kind of weird if your hand has like multiple techs in it, because you just don't have enough discard fodder to just get the resources and value out of the cards you're actually using and get to the end fields you're sort of looking for. You could probably get away with playing maybe 3 more like Eclipses or something in here, but I wouldn't play too many tech cards. I had more fun playing less tech cards anyway, so I'm basically playing the anti-branded one, and that's basically it. As for new cards in this deck, there is actually only 2 of them. Starting us off with your Pile Armed Dragon. This card just special summons itself to the field by discarding a dragon, which is really easy to do in this deck considering your entire deck is a bunch of wind dragons and they all want to be discarded. It triggers all the effects of your Armed Dragon monsters. This dude wants to be in the graveyard. This card's also got effects in the graveyard, so plenty of fodder for this and just plenty of ways to generate value from that discard. Then this card has another effect, which allows you to send an Armed Dragon monster from your deck to the graveyard to boost the attack of one of your monsters on field. Keep in mind, if you do use this effect, it is useful for triggering the things like an extra draw from your level 3 going to grave or something like that. But if you do use the effect, only the monster you targeted can attack for the turn, so you don't really want to use it going second, it's more of a value generator for going first. Alright, next up we have your Tempest. Tempest has a whole bunch of effects, but keep in mind you can only use 1 per turn. This thing, if it's in the hand or graveyard, can banish 2 wind or dragon type monsters from your hand or graveyard to summon itself to the field, but during your opponent's end phase, it will return itself to hand. You can discard this card and 1 wind monster to the graveyard to add any of your dragon monsters from deck to hand. Pretty easy way to search for your dragon mate if you don't have it already. And then if it's banished itself, it adds a wind dragon type monster from your deck to your hand. So pretty simple card. It has a bunch of effects for it, but you can only use 1 per turn, so it's not that hard to sort of figure out. And it's a very good grind gamey sort of card, considering when it's in the graveyard, it can keep summoning itself back. If you get it banished, it can just give you a search, considering this thing banishes stuff from your graveyard, and your Tempest itself can banish things from graveyard, so plenty of ways to use this in your grind game. This deck actually has a ton of grind game with the Dragon Maid trap card as well. This thing has a lot of recurring sort of stuff. This dude keeps summoning itself back. There is so much grind game and searching going on in here, so yeah, that's basically it for the deck list. The rest of the stuff's all just old cards you've probably seen before, and if you haven't, don't worry, I'll explain how it all works during the gameplay portion anyway, so without further ado, let's check out some gameplay. Alright, so today I've got 5 replays to share with you guys, some of which going first, some going second, some against top tier, some against more roguish sort of stuff, and all of which absolute bangers. So let's just jump straight into it. So for those wondering what I think of this art type, whether or not I think it's like a top tier deck or not, I don't think it's going to make the top tiers. The main issue being it's just, first of all, tech cards are really hard to play in it because your opening hands require so many discards that if you're just not playing engine pieces in hand, it becomes kind of awkward and you just lose a lot of value there, so I didn't really enjoy playing non-techs. And secondly, your end fields tend to be all monster based, which typically if you're all monster based, it can be kind of bad if your opponent has like a droplet or an eclipse or something, your whole field just sort of disappears. feels kind of bad. So I don't think this will be top tier, but I do think just because of just the end boards you do put up and the ability for this deck to go second against the more roguish sort of decks, if your opponent doesn't open like a Dropper or an Eclipse, your infield is really solid, and going second, you have plenty of ways to deal with boards just because you summon a big armed dragon to the field, fairly similar to what Hero does, so this deck feels pretty decent. Don't think it's top tier, definitely could get you to King of Games though, if that's what you're sort of interested in. Alright, so up against Raid Raptor first. So I haven't seen Raid Raptor in a bit, it's definitely more of a roguish level deck now. Opponent's going to be setting up his Enfield, we'll fast forward a little bit. Alright. Bit of a weird Enfield, I normally expect Raid Raptors to set up more than this, but I think this guy was going for a more, summoning C summons during the opponent's turn sort of thing and popping my cards. So first thing I do was activate the skill. I actually should have put this on the field first, because I wanted this on field before my armed dragon tries to get flip face up. I wanted the flip face up to be my first action, so I kind of messed up a little bit here. Just in case one of these is a destroy effect, because this card protects you from destruction. So skill searches for 2 armed dragons from the deck, whichever ones you're basically missing from your hand. Places the big one on the field, which is your board breaker most of the time. You're summoning this going second pretty much every single time. Putting this card on the field, so this card's now protected from destruction effects. Discarding to try to pop some cards. He's going to negate this, I don't care because I can defend it. Getting a search from the discard. And of course, because this thing was defended, I can just use effect again, because it's not once per turn, forcing him to use his rank up now. Does feel kind of weird summoning this thing, it feels like I'm playing Hero. Alright. Getting another search from this. Of course, all your armed dragons just trigger their effects when discarded from this, so I'm using it a 3rd time this game. And we're not even losing value, look at the starting hand, it's literally still on 4 cards. Right, normal summoning the Dragon Maid, sending the changeover. Changeover going to be adding back to hand, adding the Dragon Maid back. Fusion summoning. Making the Shao, however you pronounce this thing. Shao, something like that. And he's already conceded. We're going to revive back the other guy from Graveyard as well. Alright, so nice little starting replay there. Basically showing off what this deck can do going second. Most of the time it is just summon your big boy, and that is what you do going second. Use that big boy to try to bait out your opponent's disruption, and then just unload your hand and hope you sort of get there. Because obviously your opponent has a ton of disruption, and they do deal with the big guy, which they will deal with it most of the time. You then just sort of have to try to get there by just slamming more and more monsters onto the field. Which you do summon a buttload with this deck, so a lot of the time you can just overwhelm your opponent. Which is sort of the goal. Alright, once again, revealing my armed dragon to grab 2 from the deck, just grabbing the ones you're missing. Of course, grabbing this one for going first, which makes sense, because it's a quick effect pop. Discarding, special summoning, level 5 searching, grabbing this dude. Sending this card to the graveyard to boost this thing's attack, as well as giving myself a draw. Alright, discarding, grabbing, searching for this, activating this. Alright, targeting my monster, then add back a card from my graveyard to my hand. Banishing a card with special summon this dude. Summoning the seals. Typically, if you can summon this from graveyard, it's obviously better, so you can get this in the graveyard, then just summon it back, so you don't lose the resource in hand. But in this case, if I did it that way, I would have had kind of clogged myself and not being able to go into a Link monster. Alright, Dragon Maid. Changeover, going to be adding it back to hand. And then we can just fuse into your shell. So we've got a negate, a pop, a bounce, we've got the DD Crow for Despia, which I think this was Despia, if I remember correctly. And we've got the level 5 in hand, which was added back via the spell card, which is also fantastic because obviously this requires the discard, and it gives you a lot of follow-up. This deck has tons of follow-up because of course you've got the Dragon Ruler in the graveyard as well. Got the Dragon Ruler in grave, got this in graveyard, both of which can summon stuff back. This card can also be banished by this card to give you a search. This thing gives you a search when it's discarded from this thing. There is tons of follow-up in this deck, so you never have to worry about that. Also, the Dragon Maid trap card's about to be put in the graveyard. Kasho revives this, sends a trap card. So, if you're worried about follow-up with this deck, don't be. There is a lot with it. You've got tons of stuff you can do. Alright. And even if my opponent clears one of my monsters on my field, obviously Spheres also get to summon to the field. Spheres is kind of a bit weakish in this deck because your field is kind of clogged, so if you have to use the Spheres early, or you have no way to have one of your monsters removed, it kind of feels a bit weird because you don't get to summon a dude from the deck from this thing being put in the graveyard, obviously. But it's also okay, because this card is non-target removal, so rather than summoning the level 7 Xyz, which a lot of the time you can summon instead of Spheres, in this case, because this deck has the field spell and potentially a card in hand that defends the field spell from targeting effects, Spheres is really good, because you can just shuffle back the field spell when they try to use it, rather than trying to target remove it. Which is why I like Spheres better in the Death Sphere matchup specifically. Although I summon Spheres most games, just because non-target removal is better than target a lot of the time. Alright, so I'm basically just not going to do anything. I'm waiting for him to do a fusion summon. I know this deck can't function if we just prevent the fusion summons. This thing can prevent the field spell, this thing is a negate for a fusion summon, and we've also got the Crow, which also prevents a fusion summon. So I'm just waiting to save them all, basically. Not going to use this card to target this, because like I said, this field spell can be protected via the dude in hand, which I believe he actually revealed earlier. I believe he revealed on his turn. Yeah, this dude, the comedy. So I'm not going to, I'm not going to target this thing in case he uses a comedy. I'm just going to remove it with the non-target removal source with the Spheres. No real reward for the Spheres effect, obviously, but that's fine. Crow being used in response to the Brandon in red, which completely screws it over. Gives him a search, but just stops the Brandon in red, so he can't really play the game. Again, not going to target these monsters, because I don't want to trigger his comedy. Just going to pop the back Crow instead. Alright, Tidying going to revive. Honestly, I didn't even need to do this, because this card itself puts dudes back on field, so I didn't need to do that, really. Negating the opening, I don't really have any need to not negate at this point. Changeover, adding back to hand the dude. Not going to pop a card because I don't want to trigger the field spell, but I could have if I wanted to. I'm not going to spell the monster in hand. Summoning Show just in case, because this card I'm pretty sure isn't even a hard once per turn. I'm pretty sure. I know it is a hard once per turn, never mind. Alright, adding back a card, just beating up my opponent. Alright, and that is why we play Crow. Although even if we didn't have Crow there, if he didn't have access to a second of the branded in reds, I'm pretty sure we could have just negated it, because I don't think I even used Show's negate until the following turn. So we still had a negate for the branded in red. This end field, provided your opponent doesn't have a droplet or an eclipse, does actually have... Actually, even if he had an eclipse there, we could have negated the eclipse and we still had the Crow. But if he had a droplet there, well, yeah, we cooked. 10-game win streak. I didn't even notice this guy was on a 10-game. Poor branded opponent. I think we went first again here, though. Oh no, he went second. But we have Crow again, so... Crow is actually just, like, the biggest cock block for this deck. I think most decks I prefer to have Droplet in to deal with just the first Dark Lord. But this deck, like I said, I think during the... earlier, you can't really just discard things with Droplet because there just isn't enough cards in hand to discard for the rest of your effects. And all these cards trigger only when they're sent to grave via your dragon dudes. So it's not really... Yeah, you can't really send them to grave with Droplet. Alright, skill, adding a bunch of dudes. Gonna be putting this guy on field, put him in face up. Alright. Once again, I put this thing on field just in case he had some sort of destruction effect. It's actually funny, because even if he did summon the big fusion monster here and try and nuke the field, this guy would actually be defended because of the thing here. So I could have just saved it if I wanted to, but I'm going to just Crow, so I don't want to defuse. No point in letting him defuse. Nuking his field, it's all gone. Even if you had the spell card in graveyard, we just discard again and nuke again. Alright, grabs a comedy, don't really care, revives this, it no longer burns, so we don't really care about it. My Prismatic Tempest, discarding. Alright, discarding, special summon itself, lightning adding back. Then Blitz to summon out a dude, make a rank 7 if I want to. I was just flexing at this point, this guy was beyond dead, I could have done a billion different ways of lethaling, of just summoning stuff for the sake of summoning stuff. Made, sending, changeover, adding back. Fusion summoning, and we still have the we still had the big guy in graveyard to revive as well if we wanted to. Alright. Honestly, I feel like outside of the maybe potential tech options or something for this deck, the actual like core that I'm playing, I don't think that you really want to change it for anything. I'm pretty sure it's just sort of fixed at this point. You want to play 3 of the cards that trigger the skill. You want to play the Dragon Maids. I don't know if you need 3 of these. I assume 3 of it's better just because of it's your normal summon. You don't have to search it all the time. Because if you don't have to search it, you can use your searches on something else, like your extendery guy. But yeah, I think the actual core of the deck, including like the trap cards and the spells and all that kind of stuff, feels pretty core at this point. Not really much I would ever want to change. Alright. Yeah, turned out this deck list was a lot easier to sort of put together than I thought it would be. I thought it would turn out to be more like a dragon pile of just similar to like the Dragon Link stuff that's been in Duel Links in the past, which just ends up being a big pile of dragons that's really annoying to play. But this is actually just fairly chill, actually. The combo lines are fairly simplistic. You're searching for the same sort of stuff every game, aiming for the same sort of end fields. Yeah, it felt kind of decent. Alright, up against Hero, who's ended on the Wind one against the Wind deck. I don't think that was the correct choice. Yeah, his Super Poly is completely unavailable. Pops this card, don't care really. Crows on this for some reason. Even if Super Poly was live, we're so fine here. We just get to do so many summons, it's ridiculous. Alright, adding this card so I can make a rank 7 if I want to. Instead, gonna go for my Fusion Summon first, so we're safe to any back row that isn't Super Poly, which he can't use anyway, unless he's playing 2 copies of the Wind or something. Summoning the Show. Blitz, summoning from deck. Now, one thing to be careful of with this card is this card locks you into dragons. I had this in a Speedroid game where I was gonna have a really cool play where I was gonna steal my opponent's monster to swing it until he's unaffected and kill him. But then I realized, oh, I'm locked into dragons. I can't summon my Big Eye. There is ways to make Big Eye, which is why it's still in here, and this dude as well. This card I don't really care too much about. Big Eye is a really good card. So there is ways to make this. You just sort of summon the wherever it is, the Tempest. Tempest can just summon itself, doesn't lock you to dragons, and then you have this guy just doesn't lock you to dragons on summon. Make Big Eye for whatever reason you might need it. Yeah, be careful, it doesn't lock you into dragons, so you can't make Big Eye, which is pretty much the only one that I care about. Of the non-dragons. Yeah, he's already done so. Alright, final game was versus Exosister. Extract's definitely not exactly tight on this one. You can probably play whatever you feel like, but if you want to play like, I don't know, Underworld Goddess or something, I don't even know how you would get to 4 summons without locking yourself to dragons. You probably could easily do it, actually. I don't know, if you want, you could play Underworld Goddess if you wanted to, I guess. Honestly, Underworld Goddess is probably better than playing this dude. I don't see a point where I'd ever summon this. Definitely see a point in Big Eye, though. Big Eye is the goat. Right, discarding, adding my dragon. It's so cool that the Armed Dragon Goose, the little guy here, can actually just search for just the Tempest. It doesn't search for only Armed Dragon cards. You can just grab this card if you want. So then this card can grab this one, and this one can grab the Dragon Maid if you still need it. So there's plenty of searching going on here for you, or just whatever you need. And because I already have the Dragon Maid, I can search for things like this card instead if I wanted to. Alright, making my Link monster. Putting the Dragon Maid, sends the dude, bounces back, makes the fuse, blah 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 blah. Alright, so I probably could have made the rank 7 here if I wanted to, instead of Spheres, which is probably better. When there's not when you don't need non-target removal. Spheres, like I said, it's really hard to get the summon from deck from. Alright, he's gonna try and book a Moon Moon. We are gonna have a negate for that, thankfully. Revive back. Dragon Maid sends the trap. Good follow-up. Basically just popping anything he summons. As long as he can't exceed summon, he's probably cooked. And if he does exceed summon, it doesn't really matter too much. He just bounces one. Safely, that was it of what he could do. Right, changeover, adding back, bouncing back my card. I don't know why he didn't concede at this point, he's just letting me flex on him, I guess. Graham gonna be banishing 2, summoning itself back. And of course, we got the negate for the Vadas, so... You should have just activated the Vadas at the start of the turn before I got the fusion summon. Maybe you could have survived, I doubt it, but maybe you had a better chance if I didn't have the show on field for sure. And easy donezo. Alright guys, that's going to do it for today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, remember to leave a like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. I'll probably do a mutant video tomorrow. Depends on how that deck turns out. I don't have high hopes for it, but maybe it'll turn out to be decent. Haven't tried it yet, but don't have high hopes for it. But do look out for that video just in case. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. Hope to see you in the next one. Laters.
Hey, big brother, can I watch SpongeBob?
Shut up, Mokuba. I'm busy flagging YouTube videos to compensate for the fact that I have an extremely small penis.
Oh.